outside. Our Somali neighbors are offering to opening cooling centers, I think. The James Show. Yeah, I know it's hot, okay? I'm your host, James Parker. Welcome to the big show. And usually weather's not going to be our top story unless it's severe weather. Now, I don't think technically this counts as severe weather, but this is really hot, and it's the hottest it's been since it was 100 degrees last year. And so the top search term on Google right now for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is hot, heat, the weather. That's not usually the case. And I find that to be of concern because, it's hot. It's 100 degrees. Is it anything to get exercised about? Absolutely not. This is what it is pretty much every summer. This is very normal for this time of year. This isn't like it's 100 degrees in May or April. This isn't like it's 100 degrees in October or November. This is July in Texas. It's 100 degrees. Whoop-de-doo. Now, I know the news likes to try and keep you hooked by scaring the crap out of you. And boy, they like to do that about the weather. It's like, wow, if you got anything to do outdoors, you might want to skip it. Or you could just do what you did every summer your entire life when it's July. This is not an emergency situation. And I don't think most people appreciate how little of an emergency this situation is, because there's a lot of people who are so invested. They have the sunken cost of decades of believing in this global warming garbage that they want to believe it. That fits my worldview. That fits my narrative. So sure, we've got a problem with the hot weather. Well, some geniuses at Climate Watch put out a chart at the beginning of this week, and they were showing you how if you just wind back the clock 100 years and you look at 2025, the last full year that we have data on what our temperatures are, when you look at the number of days where we were above 90 and the number of days we were above 100, go back and look in 1925. We had more days where we were above 90 degrees, more days where we were above 100 degrees. In fact, that's kind of the case for 2024 as well, and 2023, and 2022, and 2021. When you look at what the temperatures were in the 1920s, and the 1930s were even worse. In fact, it's kind of when our temperatures peaked here in all of American history. Granted, for something climate related, something only goes back 250 years, isn't that glacial of a pace. But it is not hotter than ever. This is not something that is intolerable to the human condition, because we had hotter temperatures than this more often than this just 100 years ago. And we didn't have air conditioning, and we didn't have all of these other accommodations and luxuries. We didn't have IV drips that you could just stick it to your arm to recover if you were having a heat stroke. So let's not all act like babies here. And it really ticks me off that we're passing off this incredible neuroticism to our children when it comes to heat. Now, make no mistake about it. When you and I were in school and we were playing football and it was 104 degrees outside, we went through that and it was tough. And every once in a while, you'd hear in the newspaper or you'd hear in the evening news that some kid had heat stroke and had to be taken to the hospital. Maybe once or twice in your entire football career, you might have heard about some kid on the other side of the state that died from heat exhaustion or whatever. And I don't want to say like, well, if few kids have to die for us to play football, that's totally worth it. No, the mindset I want you to walk away with is there's an acceptable risk for almost everything we do in the human endeavor. And we've gone way past the threshold of, let's just out of an abundance of caution around the heat. Let me give you a personal example, and this will be kind of embarrassing for myself and for my family. But not last week, but last weekend. So 10 days ago. It was the weekend, and we were going to mow the grass, and we have a deal at the Parker household where I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. So of the 2 sons, one of them mows the front yard, the other one mows the backyard. That's how we split that up. So in the morning, the younger boy mowed the front yard, and it was about, 10:30, 11 o'clock, maybe 11:30 at the latest. And it was older son's turn to go mow the lawn, but he kind of dilly-dallied and was messing around. And by the time noon rolled around, he still hadn't mowed the lawn. I said, get your butt back there and mow the lawn. He goes, let me mow it later when it's cooler. Let me wait until the sun goes down a little bit and it cools off. And Miss Parker's like, all right, well, that's a reasonable. I think that's an okay request.
Hi, Miss Parker.
I said, Miss Parker, you're wrong. He's going to go mow the lawn and he's going to go mow it right now. And she's like, well, he's right. It will be cooler later. I don't care if it will be cooler later. He is a 15-year-old boy. He can stand mowing an eighth of an acre. I mean, it's maybe a half-hour process. And you know how hot it was? 86 degrees. Like, come on, bro. We don't need to be teaching our kids that at the slightest inconvenience, the slightest discomfort, the slightest hint that we're not 100% safe, that's an event you have to skip. That's too much of a risk to take. No, not at all. So let's go over this real quick. I'm going to play, first off, WFAA rolling into this, wanted to lean into heat centers. We'll do that next. But let me go get a clip from now 5 years ago of Charlie Kirk, where he compares it to the speed limit. What is an acceptable amount of risk? To be a free person, to be a liberty person, to be just a functioning adult, you have to accept some level of risk in almost everything you do.
Why don't we make the speed limit 15 miles an hour? Seriously, that would save those people's lives. The reason that we do not have a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit is because we want to have the liberty to be able to go from Phoenix to Tucson in an hour and 38 minutes. But if we were all about safetyism, it'd be a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, and it would be the same as just taking a horse-drawn carriage. And we laugh for good reason, because we understand that liberty has a cost. We fooled ourselves otherwise this last year, that you could shut everything down and you could be totally safe and we're going to take care of you. Nonsense. There's so much liberty that we allow in our society for good reason, because the benefit of the liberty outweighs the costs.
You know, we're doing our kids a huge disservice by acting like Nerf little babies at the slightest discomfort. It bothers me that when you and I were growing up, I played soccer. We didn't have to take water breaks every 15 minutes if it was over 90 degrees. You know, your kids have to do that now. Like, my kids play soccer, and it's almost unrecognizable because they can't hit it with their head until they're in high school. For no reason. There's been no injuries or CTE associated with hitting a 1 pound inflated piece of leather, no matter how fast it's going. And they have to take these hydration breaks. Like, every 15 minutes, we just stop the game, and everyone runs over to their bench, and you can get some water, and, you know, better safe than sorry. No, I prefer to teach my kids that they're made of much tougher stuff. You can go outside and you can do strenuous activity for more than 15, 20 minutes on a hot summer day and be just fine. You can get on that bicycle and you can go to your friend's house down the street without wearing a helmet. Just fine. You don't have to freak out every time there's a bomb threat that's called into your school because it's never been a bomb. Can we stop hyperventilating and treating the world and scaring the crap out of our kids like it's some sort of giant danger zone? And all danger is something to be avoided at all times. Yeah, it's hot outside. It's really hot outside. Just like it was last year, just like it will be for every summer during your life. You're made of much tougher stuff than this. And while I have a cushy, soft job right now, I spent many days, many summers in manual labor outside when it was over 100 degrees. I turned out just fine. Thank you very much. Can we stop treating our children like absolute babies? Now, will the electric grid hold out? That's a different discussion. We'll start that next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, it's hot. You'll be fine. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Pleasantly surprised on the break here where I bring up, the pushback against the hyperbolic reporting on the heat. This is not extreme heat. This is entirely normal. Unless you're a transplant, this is what you've experienced every summer. And, it makes me think less of the news community, the science community, the meteorology community, when they come up with it feels like or a heat index. I think because you know what it is. They just want to report a bigger number. And so the high today, what is it, like 103 or something? But they'll tell you, yeah, but the feels like the index is going to be 113. It's like, oh, well, that's an even bigger number. Maybe I should be scared now. No, God. Yeah. No. You don't need to know anything else, anything extra on what the high temperature is. Okay, it's 104. It's 102 right now, but the high today is 104. They'll tell you it's going to feel like 113. But a couple of years ago when it was 104 degrees, you went outside and it felt the same. It felt like 104. 10 years ago when you went outside, I don't know where you were. You could have been out in Bug Tussle. You could have been here in downtown. You could have been up in Carrollton. You could have been down in DeSoto. I don't know where you were, but when you walked outside and it was 104, it felt like it did today. No, it doesn't feel like 113. This is what 104 feels like. This is the temperature that's on the thermometer. I'm an idiot. This is the temperature that's on the thermometer. You walk outside. That's what it feels like. They just want to report a higher number. They just want to scare you. They just want to be hyperbolic. And it's not that it has no effect whatsoever. We're training an entire generation to be scared of everything. Now, in the middle of this, how do you report on this and insert your politics? Well, you bring up data centers, I guess. WFAA has the report this morning.
We know it's hot, but we wanted to know, how is this summer different?
Oh, by the way, I should probably set this up a little better. In this story, it's supposed to be about the heat and if our electrical capacity, our grid's going to hold up. The takeaway from this, it's almost like if they sat down and they're like, all right, we're going to give you 90 seconds here. I want the moral of the story to be data centers bad, solar and wind good.
We know it's hot, but we wanted to know, how is this summer different?
One big topic that we've talked about is the rapid growth of data centers impacting power demand as we stretch into 100-degree days. Janelle Fort has more from Mountain Creek Power Plant.
The short answer is more pressure on the grid, not because this heat is unusual for North Texas, but because there are so many more things being plugged into it, and that includes those massive AI data centers that we've been talking so much about. So I've been checking ERCOT's live grid conditions all morning, and things have eased off significantly from what we saw yesterday evening when demand climbed to around 87,500 megawatts. That number topped the state's current all-time demand record of just over 85,500 megawatts set back in 2023. The good news for all of us is the lights stayed on, largely because Texas got a lot of help from wind and solar generation during the evening peak, plus natural gas and other sources. But energy experts say the challenge isn't going away. As more AI data centers are built across Texas, they're expected to add massive new demand to a grid that's already stretched during the hottest days of the year. And ERCOT has said it's planning for exactly this kind of growth. The agency expects electricity demand to keep climbing over the next several years as the state's population grows and as more large users, including those AI data centers, come online. So while this week's heat may eventually break, the conversation surrounding the grid probably isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, did you catch that? We had to bring up data centers a few times and stress how bad they are over and over and over. We brought up wind and solar, but we wanted to stress how good it was. That saved the day, thanks to big help during the evening peak hours from wind and solar. Oh, really? The solar really stepped up when the sun went down? Come on, man. Think about what you're saying. It's embarrassing. Do you have to put a political jab in there? And by the way, if you agree with that political jab, you should rethink your position on data centers. Yeah, really. Solar and wind stepped up. Sure. Does anybody doubt for 5 seconds, if we took all of the money, the millions of dollars that we have thrown at wind and solar in Texas, and we instead built coal-powered plants or natural gas power plants, Which one would create more energy more reliably, cheaply? All of it. Yeah, exactly. So the reporting's almost 180 degrees from the truth, isn't it? Chris and Keller, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, I was going to say, instead of wind and solar and all that junk, they got these mini nuclear ones that you can get. Just bury them underground and support an entire neighborhood for 100 years.
I wish. Chris, I think we're getting to the point now to where our power generation needs to be very much decentralized. We shouldn't have one big grid that Texas is on and then another big grid that the rest of the country is on. There should be thousands of tiny grids. Hell, that might be part of your next HOA agreement is, you got to kick in for, I don't know, maintenance or utilities or whatever the heck on your own HOA's mini nuclear grid or whatever. But heck yes, we need to do that. And the problem is we've made the utilities socialist. We made them a prepaid government controlled monopoly. And that's where you come in with the problems and the shortages. Whenever you have price controls, that's where shortages come from. When you have price controls, and the only time we've had the shortages of gas is when we did price controls. That's kind of why you end up with shortages of water and electricity sometimes, because it's in government hands and there's price controls on it. Because Chris, does Dasani ever run out of water?
Nope. And on that other note about the heat,
yes.
Last July, my daughter had a soccer tournament, and the Tech Sox time said it was 113 degrees, and they still played a soccer tournament at 2 in the afternoon.
Oh, I'm so proud. I'm so surprised they didn't call it off. Did they have to do the heat breaks every 15 minutes or something?
They did do the heat break.
Yeah. Well, at least they played. All right. Well, thanks for the update, Chris. Good stuff.
Anything short of lightning, they play.
Yep. Anything but lightning. I love that. Good deal. All right. Nice, Chris and Keller. Coming up next, we are remembering a fallen soldier from Carrollton, Isabella Gonzalez. Looks like the community's stepping up and is going to welcome her home soon. I'll pass along what I know next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, Texas homeowners. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. BlueRibbonDFW.com is where you need to go if you have any doubts about your roof, because right now your roof just got a beating over and over and over from all kinds of storms and wind, and a lot of us got hell. I know I got hell out in Bug Tussle. So this is the other part of the weather cycle that really stresses your roof out right now. Right now, it is sitting in direct sunlight, no shade, just getting beat down by 100+ degree temperatures, and it's going to happen day after day after day after day. And this is kind of the expanding and contraction where the fault lines start to build, where you see little cracks, when you see little spaces. And if you have any doubts, the inspection, absolutely free. Don't just trust the handsome guy on the radio. Go to BlueRibbonDFW.com, read some of their 5-star Google reviews that your neighbors have already left, and then schedule your free inspection today. Go to BlueRibbonDFW.com. So I got a lot of your neighbors asking me how we're going to honor our fallen hero, Isabella Gonzalez. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The sad story over the weekend is we lost one of our neighbors in the Iranian airstrike. She was at a base in Jordan and 19 years old. Now, today, just a couple hours before the James Show started, we had the transfer in Delaware, the scene that you see happen where they bring out the flag draped coffins. So she's back here on home soil, at least by American standards, but she's not back in Texas yet. And I have a lot of people reaching out to me, and I appreciate you guys thinking I'm the guy that can put all this together. I'll be happy to pass along the real organization and the real events that are going to happen, but you guys give me too much credit for what I'm in charge of around here. People reaching out, hey, let me know what we're doing for Isabella Gonzalez in town. I don't know. You tell me, and I'll pass it along to everybody else. But, I get comments like this is from a guy who styles himself as Cowboy Patriot 88. He says, she is coming home soon. Are we going to line the streets with flags and salute her while hanging banners off highways? Supporting the family is important. Post her parade or route of honor for us to hold flags on that sad day. I will. As soon as I figure out what's going on, the people keep me informed. There seem to be... Isn't this sort of the domain of the VFW? I apologize for my ignorance. I don't mean that as an insult to me. I'm not a veteran. I haven't gone through this. I'm not in the VFW. Who does arrange these things? When we have the flags and we have the big procession, whose job is that? Is that the VFW? Because I don't think that's like official Army business. So maybe you tell me on this one. I'm not telling you anything new. Here's what I do know. It was a really good rundown here from WFAA in the story of remembering our fallen hero, Isabella Gonzalez.
American Legion Post 597 has been a home for old soldiers for nearly 80 years. But when they learned one of Carrollton's youngest soldiers died, these old soldiers were brought to tears.
She went to the same high school my son did. They live a quarter mile from where I do.
The commander of this American Legion post is mourning the loss of 19-year-old Isabella Gonzalez, the Hebron High School graduate killed in an Iranian drone and missile strike in Jordan. Now these soldiers are helping bring one of their own home.
We just want to be there for her, because it could have been me. It could have been me that came home, and I'd want somebody to support my family.
Isabella Gonzalez is a Carrollton.
Support, too, from Carrollton City Hall, where on Tuesday night, Isabella's picture graced the stage, where the mayor pledged support to her family.
Isabella, we will all remember you today, through the coming weeks and months, and for years to come.
The mayor pro tem is the mom of an active duty Marine, too.
I offer my sincere prayers, respect, and heartfelt sympathy to her mom and all her family.
They announced that Isabella's name will be added to the Carrollton Veterans Memorial. A public vigil with a time and place not yet determined is expected to take place this weekend. And the city, along with the American Legion, will help coordinate her return home with an expected burial at DFW National Cemetery. The American Legion has a fundraiser on their website and Facebook page, 100% of the proceeds going to her family. And as this child of Carrollton returns home, John Norsworthy says there is one request.
Don't forget her. That was the one thing her mom said. She didn't want anybody to forget her.
Tonight, Carrollton is promising they prayerfully will not. In Carrollton, I'm Kevin Reed.
All right. Good report there, Kevin. God, that's tough. So American Legion, you guys keep the rest of us informed. For those of you who want to donate money, you heard through WFAA, American Legion's handling that. I don't know why, but the giving money is kind of a natural instinct we have. Maybe it's because we're materialistic and generous at the same time, being our awesome American culture. But for guys, I don't know if this works for women. This might just be part of male DNA. It really does make you feel a little bit better. I don't know why they need money. This isn't, Isabella's not going to be brought back. She didn't have like a husband or a family and kids to take care of, so we're giving money to who? Her parents? Yeah, I don't know why. That makes me feel better too. So if you feel so inclined, do so. I mean, what else are we going to do? Tina and Rowlett, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Tina.
Hey, how are you? I'm so sad for this family. And just a quick background, in 2001, around 2001, at the height of the war, my son left for Iraq. And I was a director of a cancer center in Carrollton, and a young man by the name of Aaron Aguirre was killed. He was a Carrollton graduate of Hebron High School. So this is not the first Hebron High School Carrollton graduate that has died in war. And I'm fortunate. My son served in Iraq and Afghanistan and came home, and they didn't. And I don't take it for granted for 1 second. That's all I wanted to say. God bless the family.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of survivor's guilt that's had there. And most men have the sentinel instinct where even if we don't join the military, we understand we're kind of supposed to be the protectors of the weaker people around us. And there's like there's a little bit of guilt for not ever even signing up. Right? Like, what level of coward am I? A 19-year-old girl went and signed up, put herself in harm's way, paid the ultimate price. I didn't even bother signing up. Yeah, that makes me have to appreciate what she did a whole lot more. I'm a man. That's supposed to be our job. All right, we'll continue remembering an American hero next. Isabella Gonzalez on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Remember the WBAP morning show when you wake up. And also that President Trump's going to be in Dallas. And it's just only about 6 weeks away now. September 9th and 10th, there's the 2016 Republican midterm convention that's going to be next door at the American Airlines Center. Hopefully we'll be stringing some awesome guests for you through the studios here. But we will be your home for all things Republican convention when the time rolls around. Trump's going to be here. This is Johnny in Dallas. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James. First of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry that we lost one of our soldiers, one of our patriots, and just how I'm praying for the family of the young lady that we lost. But second of all, I was just going to let you know that you might look up the Patriot Guard of North Texas. I'm also a Navy veteran.
Oh, yeah, I remember those guys. Right.
Yeah, the Patriot Guard. We usually meet the soldiers when they fly in at DFW on motorcycles and protect the person until they get to where they're going. But I would look on the Facebook page, North Texas Patriot Guard, and they'll post about when they're going to receive fallen soldiers coming home.
And you're in the Patriot Guard?
Yes, sir. I rode with the Patriot Guard. Actually, I just moved from Irving, Texas, down to Bug Tussle, down to Tyler Bullard, actually, out at Keepersaw. So.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're right next to my sister.
Oh, is that right?
Pecan Valley.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you drive past it on the way home every day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I was just going to say that, but I would look at the Patriot Guard. I'm going to now start riding with the Patriot Guard guys out in East Texas. Out Tyler has a chapter as well.
So I remember the Patriot Guard, 20 years ago when the protesters like Westboro Baptist Church were protesting against the soldiers coming home. Do we still have an issue of people protesting when soldiers come home?
Baptist Church in Oklahoma passed away. There was just no one else that showed up when you have a bunch of burly guys and expatriates themselves on motorcycles that just stand guard, and actually never any violence, but just to stand, just to protect that family. And I rode in Chris Kyle's buddy that was killed with him. I actually got to do that funeral, and I missed Chris Kyle's because I had to fly for my company meeting over in Sweden. So I missed Chris Kyle's funeral. But
another Texas legend, yeah.
Dallas. Yes, yes.
So the Westboro Baptist Church.
You for what you do.
Real quick.
Westboro.
Yeah, they're not a thing anymore.
No, sir. No, so the Patriot Guard. That's how we started, and just still continue today. Just realized how important it is to families, these Gold Star families now, as these patriots pass. And then I currently that propelled me into volunteering with Gary Sinise. So I volunteer at the Gary Sinise Foundation every year for Gold Star families. Did that from 2009 to 2023, and then they asked me to be the lead to set up the flags for fallen first responders. So a great organization, by the way, Gary Sinise, and what he does for our soldiers and veterans.
Well, I guess you're just like putting your heart through the meat grinder on a regular basis, Johnny in Dallas. That sounds like a very emotionally taxing volunteerism you got going on.
It is, but God has been good to me, and I'm blessed beyond measure, brother.
Well, y'all are great guys. Round of applause for the Patriot Guard. Just let me, if y'all have something worked out and I haven't said it on the air yet, just call in and give me the reminder. I'll be happy to pass all that along. Thank you very much for your service and for the Patriot Guard work. What a bunch of good guys, right? We're told that this country is evil, racist, bigoted, just filled with terrible people. No, it's not. It's filled with people like that. And it's just not going to make the news. Why? Because I don't know, it doesn't fit the narrative. They don't want you thinking nice things about straight white Christian males that have been military veterans and live in rural parts of red state America. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Let me not start going down that very uncomfortable rabbit hole as well. But look, school's almost back in session. We've got your shopping covered. We have a $1,000 back-to-school shopping spree contest going on at WBAP.com. This is sponsored locally by Clarity Windows and Doors. They put up the money. You can go win it. Go to WBAP.com, and in the headline rotator, there's a graphic that you can click through. You type in a couple things, and you or one of my neighbors here is going to win $1,000 in the National Back-to-School Shopping Spree. So enter now at WBAP.com. All right, coming up next on the James Show, we're going to keep an eye on what's going on. If something pops up about the Isabella Gonzalez situation, I'll be sure to pass that along. Donald Trump is speaking right now in Georgia. I will review that. And if there's anything that I think you'll care to hear, you'll hear that next as well. But we have an autopsy came back. The independent autopsy came back for the Nolan Wells situation in Mississippi. And then also we have an update on the mirror case that's going on here with Daniel Irving, the two black guys that had drowned while hanging out with their white friends. It's weird that we have parallel cases right like that at the same time, but we also have the autopsies coming back at the same time. And you'll find out what they say next on the James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we have the battle of two autopsies. It's not even really a battle. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Donald Trump speaking right now in Georgia. Nothing new thus far. It seems to be more of a campaign rally than anything. He's talking about Trump accounts. He was thanking Michael Dell and his wife for putting up the money to fund them. And again, if he says anything that I think you want to hear, I'll find it on the next break, rewind it, and let you hear it. But the ball has moved forward on two very similar stories. It's bizarre that these are both happening at the same time. But on the 4th of July weekend over in Mississippi, there was a young man, Nolan Wells, who went out with a bunch of friends and didn't come home. His body was found a couple days later by the Cajun Navy. And it looks like drowning, no signs of foul play. But we haven't got the official autopsy yet. What we've gotten is the independent autopsy that is being paid for by a black activist millionaire via Benjamin Crump. Al Sharpton was at the funeral earlier this week as well. So this has kind of turned into a wannabe race huckster circus, even though we have absolutely no evidence of foul play, much less racism. Over here in Texas, you go back to the very end of April. Heck, it was barely warm enough to even go swimming. But some guys went and jumped off an old, unused railway bridge at Lake Ray Hubbard. Similar situation, one black guy with some white friends. He never comes back. His body's found a couple days later. Looks like drowning. So let's do the updates on both of them. First, WFAA has the story on Daniel Irving, the local version of the story.
An update this morning in the death of an 18-year-old at Lake Ray Hubbard. The autopsy report found Daniel Irving died of an accidental drowning and that there are no suspicions of foul play. Still, two teens face charges of evidence tampering in Irving's death. An arrest affidavit alleges that they discarded his clothing and cell phone, and that one deleted his communications with Daniel after they jumped into the water and Daniel didn't come back up, something the family says needs further investigation.
You're not guilty of anything. Why would you hide the evidence? Why would you delete his telephone? He was my guardian angel, and always remember how respectful he was, how loving he is.
And one of the attorneys for the 19-year-old suspect, Lucas Roper, promised us a statement, but we haven't received it just yet. No one has been charged with causing Daniel's death.
Now try and answer the mom's question, because I feel for her. She lost a child. She gets all the sympathy in the world. She's probably in her own little parental version of hell. I couldn't imagine losing a child and how awful that must be. However, when she immediately turns to the race angle, that makes me just kind of roll my eyes, and I still have sympathy for her. But these are easily answered questions. Well, why would they do that? Why would they want to hide their involvement? I don't know, because the kid ended up dead? Maybe they didn't want to be associated with that? Well, what if they didn't do anything wrong, then why would they want to hide the evidence? Well, I'll tell you why. Here's one theory. Maybe they've noticed that they're not going to get a fair shake from people like you, from people in the media. Maybe they've come to notice that if something bad happens to a black person in a white person's proximity, that it doesn't matter what the evidence says. It doesn't matter if there's no evidence. It doesn't matter if they're absolutely innocent. They're still going to be dragged through the mud. They're still going to have their lives ruined. You think these guys are going to have a normal life? You think they can just go back to school in August and everything's going to be normal for them? Do you think that they are going to go through the rest of their life and every job application they fill out, every job interview they go to, every second date that they have, this is going to come up in a Google search? I'll tell you why, because even if you're innocent and you're on the wrong side of the race war narrative, you get your lives ruined. I don't know. Maybe he's heard of the Duke lacrosse team. Maybe he's heard, maybe they've, well, I guess the Nolan Wells stuff happened after April when this went down. But maybe they've noticed that so many times over and over and over, even if you did nothing wrong, people will come out and they will lie about you. They will slander you. They will run your name through the muck. Your picture will be plastered and just be used to engender hatred. And you're proving them all right. It's actually what you're doing. I mean, it's hard to tell the boys they did something wrong. Of course they did something wrong. Of course they should have just come forward. Of course they shouldn't have tampered with the evidence after the fact, especially if they were innocent. But they're not wrong when they think they're not going to get a fair shake based on the color of their skin. And if this was a white supremacist country, would white people be thinking that? It's amazing. On the other side, Benjamin Crump got called out for one of the statements he said at the funeral 2 days ago. Now, I didn't know this was a lie when he said it, but the Cajun Navy called him out on this one.
That the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. Somebody knows something.
Cajun Navy says that's not true. Cajun Navy says they didn't find him fully clothed. The Cajun Navy actually responded to that and put on their social media accounts that no, when the volunteers for the Cajun Navy found him, they found him and he was only wearing swim trunks. That's all they've ever told anyone. That's what's in the police report. No one's ever said we don't even know where that part came from. No witness said that. What, did he just make it up? And the frustrating part is, even if Ben Crump's right, that's still not evidence of foul play. Oh, well, he had his shirt on. The last video, his shirt was off. Something's going on. Oh, yeah, it must be racism. Yeah, a guy put his shirt on. It must be white supremacy. He put his shirt on when no one's looking. Well, that's all the evidence I need to accuse 60% of this country of being evil. Come on, guys. There's no racial angle here. There's not. It's just a tragedy. I wish y'all would stop dancing over the grave and exploiting it to try and engender some racial hatred where none is deserved. But Brandon Tatum is a black influencer who's gone down to Mississippi. And you know what he's doing? He's doing something that Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton didn't do. He's going and actually talking to the witnesses. He's talking to the white kids that were with him, or men, young men, that were with Nolan Wells the day of. He's actually getting the other side of the story. He's actually piecing together all the evidence. He's actually talking to people in the Cajun Navy, trying to get to the bottom of the story. And it's amazing how little journalistic curiosity is had. Look, and I don't expect it too much on the part of Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton. We know what they are. They're race pimps. This is how they make their money. But really, the local TV station, some other local journalist can't do this. Brandon Tatum's got to go do it.
I'm right here in Mississippi. It's crazy that I had to fly down here to even get this information. They've been lying on these boys. I got evidence, and I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to lay it out for you.
Yeah, so he's doing some interviews, and he's putting them out online. I watched one of the interviews with one of the boys, and it looks like exactly what you think. Just a terrible accident. We don't know yet. We might get to the bottom of this, but in the meantime, there's still just zero evidence of anything negative, anything illegal, anything unethical, much less racist. Coming up next, though, there's a cold case from 2012 here locally that got busted wide open. You'll hear that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let me talk to my blue-collar neighbors real quick. Do you have, just from repeated use, just a small, nagging injury that you've been living with for years? James Parker here for QC Kinetics. You know, you're the type of person that comes into QC Kinetics and thinks that this is just something that they're going to have to live with. They've just accommodated it for, you know, their life going forward. This has just kind of been built into the game plan. And to find out that you don't have to live like that, to find out that you can have your full range of motion back, to find out that you can go through the day and not have to be in pain at all times. You don't have to run around with Advil in your car's console. You don't have to have some extra painkillers when you get home. You don't have to leave some on your desk at work. You can go back to the pain-free lifestyle that you deserve. Now, this doesn't work for everyone. Not everyone has an injury that QC Kinetics can fix, but that's why you go in. That's why you do the free consultation. Find out if these new regenerative treatments can help you. Doesn't cost anything to find out. And the best part is you're a working man. You don't have time for surgery. You don't have any time for downtime or recovery or being put under or anesthetic or stitches. QC Kinetics can accommodate the working man. There is no downtime. There is no surgery. There is no stitches. There is no recovery. You go in, you're there for 30 minutes, you get out, and you can continue with your life. Find out if it'll work for you and thank me later. Call QC Kinetics at 972-972-8610. 972-972-8610. Yeah, it's hot as hell, but you'll be fine as long as the grid holds. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And my next guest is going to help us answer that question. Matthew Bombs is coming on with the Texas Advanced Energy Business Alliance. And we hit a record-breaking power usage already. It's a record that's only been around for 3 years now. But it looks like we're going to hold. Any chance we have some sort of blackout or brownout issues, Matthew? Is that something we're going to be able to say confidently if we have 100-degree weather for the next 10, 15 days in a row? Snowmageddon. Yeah. All right. So why are we not building more coal or natural gas? Are we still subsidizing it? Where's nuclear in all this? Yeah, I want some more nuclear here. It seems silly that we stopped that for so long. Well, let's talk about the difference between what's happening here and what happens in the winter storm. Because a lot of people are pointing out if you have a problem in the summer, it's just overcapacity. But with winter, you have the ice that's breaking the lines. And so there's some other effects that happen down there. So, are we going to have to worry about that if we get another winter storm, or has that somehow been improved as well? All right, good stuff. Makes us feel a little bit better about our situation. Matthew Bombs, how do we find out more about the Texas Advanced Energy Business Alliance? Thank you very much, Matthew Bombs on The James Show. Coming up next, we have a couple of local crime stories that I'm going to run by you. I mean, none of this directly affects you, but we have a cop shooting where we probably should honor the cops for putting themselves in danger just to keep us all safe again. Yeah, no big deal. You'll hear about some more heroes coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, let me get you another heroic story, this time from Plano. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I have the only job where, not the only, I have one of the few jobs where the book report system actually comes into play. Do you ever think that when you were growing up, you're like, why do I have to read Huckleberry Finn and then come up and stand in front of class and for 5 minutes regurgitate and tell and summarize in my own words the book, the storyline, the characters, what it was all about, the lessons learned? I feel like that's what I do every day here. I just got to tell you the stories. Here's another story. Local cop doing something very awful, but a hero nonetheless. I mean, no one wants that. Like when you wake up in the morning as a cop, you're not thinking, I hope we get to shoot somebody today. But when the time comes and your card is pulled and you're able to execute after an adrenaline dump with all the pressure in the world in a life and death situation, you deserve a little bit of praise.
Another developing story we're following for you. Plano police have now confirmed an officer-involved shooting in Carrollton. Investigators say officers were watching a group of people they believe are linked to a burglary case. They made contact with the group when police say the suspects started firing at officers. Police returned fire. 2 suspects were taken to the hospital. 4 arrested. No officers were hurt. Carrollton police are investigating that shooting while Plano police continue to work the burglary.
You know, you hear this on an almost daily basis. We're in a metropolitan area of 8 million people, and in that, some guy's going to be having the worst day of his life, and he's going to do a suicide by cop, or he's going to do some sort of crime where a cop has to get involved, or there's going to be a car chase, or there's going to be a shootout, or there's going to be a standoff or a barricade or something. And for that, for you and me, something happens not every day, but close to every day. But for all the guys that were involved in that, this is the defining moment of their entire career. Like, other than getting married and having children, this is the most important thing that has ever happened to them in their entire life. Sometimes they get hurt. I had a my brother-in-law's best friend,
Miss Parker.
Miss Parker's brother's best friend was a cop who was chasing a criminal, and when he rounded the corner, the criminal was waiting on him and shot him point blank. And Chico's never going to walk again. And so for this one time, it started out, he's just a cop doing his job. He pulls a guy over. How many hundreds of guys has he pulled over already? But it was just this one situation. And if in that chase he had done 10,000 things different, Chico would still be walking. Chico would probably be married with kids. He never got to have kids. This was before he had a chance to make a family. And so every time there's one of these cop shootings, they don't always go home. And sometimes when they go home broken. And if you can get in a situation where you're in a shootout and there's multiple people shooting, and you go home with no holes in any of your skin, you've got to thank God, number one. But number two, there is going to be some stress and trauma that comes along with that. Look at all the guilty feelings that are had because of Isabella Gonzalez. You know, someone went out there and made the ultimate sacrifice, volunteered, and when her number was called, that was it. Why are we so lucky? Why are you so lucky? Why am I so lucky? So our heart's with you, Plano cops. There's not going to be no follow-up. We're probably not going to know any of your names, but we know you went through something very traumatic. You had to do something terrible. You had to take another human being's life. And if not for you, Plano wouldn't be as nice and safe as it is today. Here's a more uplifting story from the criminal justice system in North Texas. A 2012 cold case may have been busted wide open.
In the past hour, Arlington police and the FBI shared new details of a break in a 2012 cold case. Arlington police arrested 42-year-old Myra Velasquez last week, 14 years after Iracema Chavez was found dead in her apartment with multiple stab wounds. A special agent with the FBI explained they identified a suspect by running a drop of blood from that crime scene through their genetic genealogy program. Arlington's chief of police is still searching for a motive and asked the community to come forward if they know anything.
What is that, genetic genealogy program? So they didn't match her DNA, her specific sample, But they got enough information that they were like, well, this guy looks like he might be a distant cousin, and this other guy's an uncle, and we know how they're related. So she must be one of several people, and we've got it narrowed down from there. It's a niece of this guy, at least once removed, or whatever the rules are. I have a feeling we're about to stick AI on a bunch of these cold cases, and they're going to get broke open. Because, you know, there's only so much, like if you're a human being, if I gave you a drop of blood from a cold case in 2012 and you took it and you analyzed it and you put it in the database and you narrowed it all down, you know, that would take you a while. It takes AI like that. And AI can do 1,000 of them while you do one. I think we're going to hear a ton of these stories, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. All right, coming up next, the Texas Public Policy Foundation did a study on, I don't want to say who's the dumbest college major, but how about who is the lowest performing college major on academic aptitude tests? Go ahead and guess now who you think what major has the lowest aptitude scores, both going into college and after they graduate college. What is the lowest rated on the intelligence scale major in our higher education system? And then don't get mad at me when you find out who it is, because I didn't say they were dumb. But find out next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, so which college major, which degree scores lowest on aptitude tests? And don't get mad at me and saying, oh, I can't believe you called them stupid. I'm not calling anybody stupid, but somebody has to be at the bottom. By the way, this is the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And just to put a legal wall of separation between me and this very unpopular fact, I'm going to play the clip here. A great report from Texas Public Policy Foundation is going to do the dirty work for me.
Education majors post the lowest graduate record examination scores of any major in the country. Verbal, quantitative, doesn't matter. They're consistently at the bottom. And once they're in, good luck failing out. Education schools are the worst grade inflators in all of higher ed, handing out A's 70% of the time. Low bar to enter, no bar to graduate. So maybe none of that matters if the training actually works, except it doesn't. Researchers reviewed 150 studies spanning 50 years and found no persuasive evidence that certified teachers outperform uncertified ones. A separate study using real classroom data out of New York City found the exact same thing. The credential that's supposed to prove you can teach doesn't prove anything. But it does do one thing very well. It makes you more expensive. Districts hand out automatic raises for a master's in education, despite the fact that it does not guarantee better student outcomes. And who's setting the tone for the 25,000 professors training your kids' teachers? The American Educational Research Association, the field's flagship group, once put Bill Ayers in charge of curriculum. Yes, that Bill Ayers, the weather underground bomber turned education professor.
What? All right. Now the evil spawn of Satan that put this together is my next guest, Kate Beerley, coming on the James Show. I love the report. It's just not going to be very popular with a segment of our population here, Kate. Well, I think we understand the lower aptitude, the lowest aptitude test scores going into college. I think what people might find even more disappointing is that little term you mentioned in there, grade inflation. Now, you've done some other work about grade inflation at Texas Public Policy Foundation, and I think that's kind of the bigger problem because that's what's supposed to weed people out. Well, and you did the great context in your study over here. In the 60s, only 15% of the grades that were given out by colleges and universities were A's. And so now the average across all majors is 50%, but it's above 70 for education majors. Right. And 70% of you guys on the lowest aptitude major can't be stellar students. It's just not mathematically possible. All right, Kate, how do you explain this? Is there a reason why the educational standards have fallen off so much in the last 50 years? Ooh. Well, what about the teacher certification process at all? What, do we know when that started? Because it doesn't seem to be working. Well, I've been wildly suspicious of the higher education degrees because I've met so many people that have a master's degree or even a PhD, and they are just as questionable. Like on the intelligence scale, is this can of Red Bull right here? That like a lady in the cubicle next to me used to have a PhD, and she didn't know very basic words that I would say in conversation, and it blew my mind. I haven't. Did you say spirit murder? Oh, that sounds great. That's a new one. I like that already. Spirit murder. Yes, when actual mortality isn't in the picture, we can invent something negative here. Well, you also have the background at Berkeley. How bad was that? All right. Well, thanks for being on the James Show. If you're ever up in Dallas, I always need a good setter too. So, Kate Beerley from the Texas Public Policy Foundation, thank you very much for being on the James Show. And teachers, don't get mad at me. Husbands of teachers, I don't want to get any emails from you. I didn't say anything bad about your wife. I didn't say anything bad about you. I didn't say teachers are dumb. Do not aggressively misinterpret what this conversation was. Some of us are just concerned about the well-being of our kids in schools. And it really is just that simple. Just don't hate me. All right, we're having the back to school contest. Enter for your chance to win $1,000 from the National Back to School Shopping Spree, sponsored by Clarity Windows and Doors. It's easy to enter. Just go to WBAP.com and the little headline rotator where we have the graphics that slide back and forth, the slideshow. That'll be one of the, find it, click on that, fill it out. Maybe you can win $1,000 from us, and that'll help cover some of your back to school costs. Or if you're done with the kids, I don't know, just go buy a bunch of booze. I don't care. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, it's hot out there. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And it does kind of bother me that how much headline space the weather's taken up when the weather is completely normal. There's so much of this hyperbole that goes on in the media that I feel like if I have a platform, I should just sort of dispel some of it. So you walk around knowing the truth, like when they're like, gas prices are skyrocketing, they're shooting up, and they're increasing the cost of everything around you. Not true. National average is $4 a gallon. If you adjusted for inflation, the average price of a gallon of gas since the year 2000 has been $4.08. So yes, it is up about $1 from where it was last year, but gas isn't up. It's just down less than it was a year ago. It's not as inexpensive as it was a year ago. It's not even in the expensive category yet. So I feel that way with the weather as well. Oh my God, this is unusual heat. No, it's not unusual heat. In fact, it's the most normal thing in the world for it to be 100 degrees on July 22nd in Texas. Stop it. In fact, 100 years ago, we had more days per year above 90 degrees and more days per year above 100 degrees. So actually, we're not having a sweltering summer. It's just slightly less below average than it usually is. Does that make sense? Less below average? It's a weird word salad. I feel like Kamala Harris. To the phones we go. This is David in Carrollton. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Thank you. I have an interesting story about a couple that we went to a home closing, and they were selling their house. And we were told that they are both college professors. One was an economics professor, one was somebody else. But this was our first house back in 1973. And so I thought, well, they'll know what they're doing, but we won't. And so we got in there, and the realtor is going over what people owe, what people don't owe, this and that. Well, they were the ones that were asking all the questions about, what's this? What's that? And I'm looking at my wife like, these are the college professors. Okay, all right. I thought it was funny along with your story.
Well, the college professor, they're in two categories in my mind, because the college professors that went out into the world and did something and they came back and as a sort of after career or in retirement or after they've already had some level of success, then they go into teaching. That's one group. But David, you experienced the other one, the people that went to college and then they immediately fell off back into the college world. They never entered the real world. These people are the eternal adolescents of our society. Since they've been 5 years old, they've been in a government education program that is so dumbed down, that is so watered down, that is so unintelligent, that they really don't have a good grasp on how the real world works because they've never had to, David.
Yes. I was shocked. I was very, very shocked. I was picking up on it. I was going to college at the time, but these people were teaching economics and accounting, and I was shocked.
That's terrible. But because, look, these people come across very distasteful to a big chunk of society because they think in their head they are the smart ones and you are the dumb one, David. They think that they know. They've been sitting around reading books for the last 30 years while you were out swinging a hammer or something stupid.
Right.
And they know what's really going on. They're also surrounded by very smart people, and they've had these parties and cocktail parties and meetings with these other people that think they're smart, and they all agree with each other. And on top of that, they come out and they have to have a huge cognitive dissonance when they have a flat tire and they have to call some blue collar hick that just crawled out of a log cabin in East Texas to come change it for them. They must feel that. How do they reconcile that in their head when they don't know how to fix the things that break in their house, but you do? And David in Carrollton, you the guy listening, maybe not Garrett in there, but I do. And that's part of the lashing out that a lot of us have seen. And thank you for your call, David in Carrollton. That was good stuff. I think some of them are sort of envious. They're overeducated. They think that they should be on top of the world. They just spent from 5 years old to 26 years old in higher education. Certainly, they know more than the average person. Certainly, they're better equipped to handle the real world and make better decisions. So why is the guy that didn't go to college for one day, why is he driving $86,000 Ford F-350 and you're barely getting by with your, I don't know, $60,000 a year assistant professorship job. What's going on there? Well, look, this was a viral video. I don't know who said this, but the overeducated in worthless degrees probably do have a strong force of envy going to blue collar people who can actually do something, who can actually, I don't know, weld or solder or do some plumbing or string together some wiring on a house.
And I think the average, Ivy League grad voting for this mayor is highly annoyed that their education is not that valuable. And the person down the street who knows how to drill for oil and gas, who's moved to Texas, has a more valuable profession. And I think that annoys the out of these people.
Well, and you used the right word there, more valuable profession. And that's something I struggle with. I do not have a valuable profession. And not that, like, if I died, no one would care. But if, like, if Thanos snapped his fingers and all talk show hosts were gone tomorrow, you wouldn't even really notice. We would be pretty easily replaceable. No one would miss a meal. No one would die. Nothing would fall apart. The economy would just hum along. But, like, if you snapped your fingers and all electricians went away, we're screwed. If you snap your fingers and all farmers and or ranchers go away, or all cowboys go away, millions of people will starve. If you snap your fingers and all linemen go away, the electricity is going to go out. We won't be able to put it back up, and millions of people will die. But if you snap your fingers and someone who has a PhD in women and gender studies, then all of them disappear. Hell, the world would probably be better. That's how you rate your job. And make no mistake about it, I'm pretty far. I'm right down there with the women and gender studies majors, the underwater basket weaving majors, talk show hosts. We have no real utility in the real world. In fact, if there was another Noah's Ark and they were doing the 2x2, well, we're going to have to bring everything we need to rebuild civilization. So we're going to need some electricians. We're going to need doctors. We'll even probably need some lawyers. We're definitely going to need carpenters and engineers, and somewhere down the line, below dishwashers, below maids, below janitors, below rodeo clown, there will be the radio talk show host. I'm not getting on the Ark. If there's another Noah's Ark, they're not going to let me on. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to update you on the heat situation in North Texas. It's the James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hot enough for you? I hate that joke. James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I remember when I was a little Texan growing up out in Bug Tussle, and old guys would say that, and they would laugh like, hot enough for you, her? First off, it's only mildly funny the first time you hear it. This is the 8,000th time I've heard it. It's 104. I'm about to elbow you in the side of your head if you say that again, old man. I'm sorry, the heat just makes me a little cranky. Other than that, we're fine. We're fine. And yes, it is hot enough for you. Let's go to Jeff and Justin. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
James, I want to disagree with you on your not being of much value. By Monday around this time of day, I am having withdrawals for the first 4 shows of WBAP.
Well, that's a nice thing to say, but if I died, no one's going to starve.
I would miss you.
Thank you.
But I was going to say, growing up, one of the things that I did at this time of year was haul hay. And we hauled hay from 6:30 in the morning till midnight. And when you only weigh $125 and you're throwing 75 pounds of hay up on the trailer, it's this kind of weather, you know what? We didn't even notice it.
Oh, you noticed. You know. Look, here's what we would do. We would start before the sun comes up, because I hauled hay too, square bells. And of course, you can't haul round bells. But we would wake up and we would do the Mexican schedule where you take a break and have a siesta. And then we would come back and do it well into after it was dark. And the when it was dark, it really wasn't that bad, because it would get down to like 80, 85. And if there's only just the slightest of breeze, you don't even really notice. And in fact, I don't ever really remember being hot in the summertime unless I was in direct sunlight. And that kind of still applies now, even though I'm almost 50 and I'm a lot more fragile and less robust than I used to be. But yeah, Jeff, you hauled some hay out there, huh?
Yes, I did. And down on the coast, by the way, where it's a little humid.
Is it worse down there?
Just the humidity.
Yeah,
but we didn't notice it then. I mean, I don't remember noticing. I didn't go to air conditioned school till I got into 10th grade.
That's wild. That blows my mind. And I'll tell you what else blows my mind is when I was born, only about 30% of the households in America had air conditioning. And I got to admit, part of me is like, I'm a big, tough guy. I can haul hay. The other part of me is like, I want my air conditioning, or I'm going to be very upset. And if my air conditioner goes out, it needs to be fixed within a matter of 2 or 3 days, or I'm going to be raising hell. But yeah, Jeff, I just hope our kids, or some of them at least, are raised just half as tough as we were.
Well,
all right,
maybe not.
Well, I'm not going to make my kids haul hay. Maybe I should. Let's go cut some hay. You ever thrown some square bells, Garrett? You ever had to stack them 7 high on a flatbed trailer? Yeah, didn't think so. All right, get out of here. Aaron in Houston, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, man, I was out on a job site today at Conroe Airport, and we had a guy pass out because of the heat. But he was only 19.
I'm sorry, did you say Conroe Airport?
Yeah, Conroe, Texas, just outside of the Woodlands.
Yeah, you're north on 45 coming up. Are you listening from down there?
I'm actually driving to Dallas now. I have to be at Addison Airport in the morning.
The other pass out thing that we saw a lot in high school, even with younger kids, is if you stand there with your knees locked, the band nerds would pass out. And every once in a while, you'd see someone like on the football team, because you just stand on the sideline for so long. And I never figured out what the deal was with locking your knees when it's 100 degrees and you're outside, making people pass out. But I saw that happen a lot.
I experienced that in the military when we were in really long formations. But I was an engineer in the military as well. And when we worked in extreme heat, the military ranks heat in categories. So when it's heat category 5, you take off your blouse, you unblouse your boots, you got to drink water every 15 minutes. But I think the heat is so extreme today. I'm 52. I didn't grow up in a house with AC. We had an attic fan, and my schools didn't have AC, and we played outside all day, and we didn't notice it. But kids are slaves to electronics, and they don't go outside. So when they do go outside, like this little 18-year-old kid, his dad got him a job, he's not built for the heat like guys. I worked at a fence company when I was in college in 100-degree weather, but I played outside every day from 5 years old to I was almost an adult, but these kids today are not exposed to heat.
And where did you grow up that you didn't have air conditioning?
I grew up in Minden, Louisiana, right outside of Shreveport.
Wow. So it's just as hot as it is here. I know where Minden's at. All right.
Yeah. Even I graduated from high school in '92. We had no air conditioner in our school.
Shut up!
Rooms,
oh my God, Louisiana.
Rooms, like the principal office had air conditioner, but classrooms had those windows that you crank them and they would kind of crack open to get airflow. But there was no air conditioner classrooms.
All right, that's a little ridiculous, man. And you're only 3 years older than me. We had air conditioning kindergarten through 12th grade in Bug Tussle, and I think I would have noticed if we didn't. All right, well, you're a tough guy. Hopefully, some of our kids are going to be able to withstand this heat, but you should see this as an opportunity. If you do have a kid that's a little bit of a softie, go push him outside. Here, toughen up. Hey, maybe you'll pass out, maybe you won't. If you pass out, you'll be fine. We'll get you some water. We'll bring you in. I mean, do you want a kid who's never passed out? Do you want a kid who reaches adulthood without ever passing out? Hey, Garrett, have you ever been knocked unconscious playing sports? Just like for a second? Okay, you got a concussion. That's good enough. All right. No, you don't go to the hospital for a concussion, please. From a concussion? Yeah. Well, I only in my youth sports teams, I only got knocked unconscious, and it was just for a couple seconds, twice. So I don't want my boys to grow up and make it to age 18 without ever being knocked out or something close. At least getting a concussion. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All the safety first moms out there are just horrified right now. Go ahead, be horrified. Coming up next, we have an interesting revelation of a lack of election integrity in New Jersey, but you know this is happening everywhere. Details next on The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. When you walk outside and it's 1,000 degrees, you could be saving money right now if you already had Rhino Shield. There's people right now, there's thousands of your neighbors in North Texas who got Rhino Shield this year already or in years past. And you know what they're doing right now when it's 111 degrees or whatever it is? Saving money. Saving money on their heating bills because Rhino Shield does that. It comes with a 6.9 R factor. They measured the amount of insulation it adds to your house. It also reflects UV rays. Doesn't just like block them and absorb them. It reflects UV rays. So already right there, it's performing in ways that paint just simply can't. But also in the prep process for Rhino Shield, they go out and prepare your house. They seal all the cracks. They cover all the leaks. They make a beautiful, perfect seal around your house before they do the space age primer and nano ceramic particle coating, whatever that stuff is. They'll come out, explain it to you. If you like what you see, you're probably going to like what you see. Then all you're worried about is the money. You don't have to worry about that either because they can put you on a low monthly payment. The bank won't give you a loan on paint. So don't paint your house, coat your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for the WBAP morning show. Check them out when you wake up until Matlock comes on at 9. Got a lot going on here. The heat is the top story of the day, and that kind of bothers me that it's the top story of the day. Yeah, it's 100 degrees. I get it. It's really hot. It's a lot hotter than it was a week ago. But this isn't out of the norm. This is kind of what you should expect for a July 22nd in North Texas. This is absolutely normal. In fact, it's well in line with the summers that you've experienced your entire life. And it's actually not as bad as summers were 100 years ago. The Climate Realist blog, or Climate Watch blog, did the number of days in 2025 that we were above 90, the number of days that we were above 100, and they compared it to 100 years ago in 1925. And when you do that for 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, even going back before that, 100 years ago in the summer, there were more days on average that were above 90 degrees and 100. So actually, this is not even exceptional heat that we're experiencing. So why is it the top story of the day? Well, the news has to scare you somehow, and they get a chance to twist it into something political. Because if they want to, they can make this all about global warming. See, we told you global warming was bad. Now you have to put control and the means of production in the hands of the government. Oh, you mean socialism? Sounds like that's what you want to do anyway. This year, they're trying a different tack, though. They're like, then I don't know if our electricity is going to hold out because all them damn data centers. So what's your solution? Oh, yeah, we need to put control of that into the hands of the government. Oh, socialism again. Sounds like hot weather is just your excuse for socialism. I'm not buying it. You shouldn't either. Byron in Fort Worth, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, longtime listener, love WBAP. I have two things real quick.
Thanks.
This morning, Brad Barton suggested working for 15 minutes and then taking a 45-minute break. A caller, a listener emailed in and said, in that case, it would take me 6 hours to feed my horses. And then Brad Barton doubled down and was, well, I guess do it after sunset or maybe hire some help. The second thing I have real quick is that global warming is real. Scientifically proven. 115,000 years ago, the Ice Age started. 11,000 years ago, it ended. We're probably going to be in a global warming trend for about another 100,000 years. The fact that humans think that we're affecting the climate of our planet is about the most vain thing I've ever heard.
Well, it puts you in the position of a god. It's a very arrogant position. It's like, well, I control the well-being of the entire planet, and I can make it cooler just by controlling my carbon output. And no, that's out of our control.
1,000 years ago, when the Ice Age ended, there wasn't an SUV or a cow fart to be had.
Well, someone farted back then, but your point still stands, Byron. Thank you very much. And now let me address the first one part about Brad Barton, because I actually have a wide highway of sympathy for people in the weather business, because it's so easy to come out and say, well, you said it was going to rain yesterday and it didn't rain today, or you said it was going to be X degrees, or you said something that turned out to not be true. But I've been in the position of having to try and write a weather forecast. And if I'm on WBAP and I got to tell you what the weather is going to be tomorrow, I am talking to people in a diagonal from Wichita Falls down past the Buc-ee's in Madisonville.
Too PC for me.
Okay, so now in this situation, Brad Barton has to give advice that applies to the 20-year-old guy who's ruggedly athletic and the 68-year-old guy who's working outside, who's probably already had 3 heart attacks and is on his last leg. And so when you have to give out a blanket advice like that, you necessarily have to water it down to the lowest physical denominator possible when it comes to heat warnings. And so
it was just like I heard earlier that the World Health Organization, or whoever it was you were talking about, had to put everything out on a 6th grade level of understanding. So,
oh yeah, I heard that. I think that was on Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins.
Yes.
Yeah, so stupid. God. Yeah, good point again. All right, you're a great caller, Byron. Thanks for calling in from Fort Worth. All right. Well, he just gave me something to think about. Another caller, Blaine, also in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James. Going to Brad Barton's comment, this temperatures, and you're right, these temperatures are not abnormal. I was 16 years old in the summer of '80 in Wichita Falls, Texas, and that was the longest, hottest summer on record with a top temperature of 117 degrees.
Woo.
My car didn't have air conditioning. My friends' cars didn't have air conditioning, and our house had two window units. So I don't believe in the global warming crap, and I don't believe in the extreme heat.
Well, listen, there are some people who are susceptible to extreme heat. The elderly and the infirm. We got that, but we shouldn't arrange all of our activities around the lowest common denominator like that. Because the thing that bothers me is we're teaching kids to be scared of the sun. We're teaching kids to be scared of 100-degree weather when they're the most robust, able to handle it people out there. And so it's kind of the sissification is what really bothers me. But man, people really have got the terrible stories about dealing with heat, and that's something I forgot. Until about the time I was born, cars didn't have air conditioners, and man, how wild is that? Because you know how hot your car is when you go into the store and you're in there for 30 minutes, and you come out in the Walmart parking lot, and your car's like the surface temperature of mercury. I guess we all used to just live like that, Blaine.
Yeah, we did. And I had to, when I'd go to work in the morning, I'd put a towel over my steering wheel because otherwise there was no way I could touch it when I got done with work. And on my vinyl seats, that burnt like the sun. And also, by the way, my high school didn't have air conditioning except in the library.
Oh my God.
And in the principal's office.
We used to live like that. We were savages, bro. We were just out there banging rocks together, making it happen. Thank you very much, Blaine in Fort Worth. So don't tell me my kid has to take a hydration break during the soccer game because they played for 20 minutes straight and got to keep them hydrated. 800-288-9227. I guess we'll keep making fun of the weather next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Yeah, let's talk about the heat. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Remember, Donald Trump's coming to town for the Republican 2026 midterm convention, the first of its kind. I bet it won't be the last, but it will be next door at the American Airlines Center, September 9th and 10th. So when September 9th and 10th roll around, remember WBAP, because we are going to be all over that. Got a few of your neighbors here that want to talk about the hot weather. This is Mark in North Richland Hills. You're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James, love listening to your show every afternoon.
Hey,
I'm one of
you.
those 69-year-old guys that works out in the heat.
Nice.
But I also have to go out and take care of the horses in the afternoons, hose them down in this extreme heat. But something for consideration. Some of the nature shows I used to watch said that the sun rings like a bell. Okay. Also, that the planet moves and wobbles back and forth, and that our moon is moving away from the planet at an inch per year. Now, you combine all these things, and is it not possible that our global warming, as they're calling it, is not affected by things outside of our control?
Well, look, here's the metaphor I like to use, because they come up with something that happens to be true and then draw a fantastical conclusion from it, because they'll even say, well, all scientists agree that introducing carbon dioxide into a system increases its ability to retain heat. Okay, that's fine. But they're like, so when we release carbon dioxide, we're causing the warming of the whole planet. No, see, I don't see the logical step between it. Here's what that sounds like to me. This sounds like if I have a Dr. Pepper Zero, like I have one of the big ones, like a big gulp from 7-Eleven, it's 64 ounces. And I go to the Gulf of Mexico and I pour it in there and I look at one of these guys, these global warming people, I would say, didn't I just increase the volume of the Gulf of Mexico? And everyone would have to agree. Yes, of course you did. Okay, so we're going to have catastrophic flooding now? Well, no, that's ridiculous. Yeah. It was just a tiny little scintilla of an ecosystem, not nearly enough to override the trillions of gallons otherwise that we're dealing with here. And so I think that's the metaphor, I think, puts it across without having to go into too much detail. That is how I view our contribution to global warming. Are we contributing to the heating up of the earth? Sure we are, but it's like dumping a Dr. Pepper in the Gulf of America.
Right. We also have volcanic action for millions of years that put ash and soot and carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
Yeah. And I remember reading that Mount St. Helens put more CO2 in the atmosphere than the entire Industrial Revolution combined.
There you go. So, pleasure talking with you, sir. All
right. Well, stay cool out there and take care of them horses. Edward and Levon, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, James. I love your show.
Thanks.
Hey, listen. To me, I have common sense. I think I use my common sense pretty well. I think the heat, it gets hotter because I think the only thing, because way back in the day, the earth is so big. It didn't have all this concrete and black asphalt and all this. Now you got these high-rise buildings, AC units, concrete everywhere. Yeah, it's going to get hotter, but I think it's more problems for the, elderly, And but I tell you, I don't think it's hurting too much. I'm 63 years old. And I used to do lawn care until about 3 years ago, until the heat did get to me.
Yeah.
But I just want to make that about the concrete and the buildings, the AC, all that. It does hurt a little bit, but not much. The earth is too big.
Well, on your original part about the concrete and the pavement and whatnot, that is something that is noticeable if you are in one of these big cities, because you do have kind of this cloud of heat that doesn't dissipate as easily as it does around, obviously non-concrete, non-asphalt, non-building, non-urban areas. But a couple things to remember. Of all of the planet's surface, 71% of it's ocean. And then another big chunk of that is the land, is Antarctica. So no one's actually going to live there. Of the habitable parts of Earth, of land, less than 1% of it is a dense urban area. So the idea that that's going to throw our entire planet's temperature out of whack, I think is still a hell of a stretch.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it does,
I
look,
appreciate you taking my call.
I appreciate you calling in, because it does have an effect on the people that take the temperatures. Because if you have this one weather station and then 30 years later, a whole urban area has been built around it, like the suburbs just kind of expanded around it, that is going to make some of the temperature readings false. It's going to give them higher than they otherwise would have been. But actually heating up and causing global warming? Absolutely not. The math just isn't there. The math just doesn't math. I hate it when people say that. All right, that's going to about do it for today. I got to remind you of a couple things before we get out of here. Number one, school is almost back in session. We've got your shopping covered. We're doing a contest here for back to school. You can win $1,000 from the National Back to School Shopping Spree Contest. Now, it's sponsored locally here by Clarity Windows and Doors. You go to WBAP.com and the little headline rotator at the top, you'll find the contest graphic, click through, fill it out, and I hope one of you guys wins. It's an easy way to get $1,000. Also, remember that Donald Trump is coming to Dallas. The president will be next door to where I am talking right now. We're at the American Airlines Center in that little entrance plaza, the PNC Plaza. Well, the big event is going to happen at the American Airlines Center on September 9th and 10th. That's in the middle of the week. So when those two dates roll around, just know the president's going to come to town and we are going to be all over it. And I also want you to remember this, because I'm going to be trying to sneak over high-profile guests that I otherwise wouldn't be able to get if not for being adjacent to this new Republican midterm convention. So just remember, September 9th and 10th, WBAP is going to be your home for that upcoming Republican midterm convention. All right, that's going to do it for my time today. If you need more James Show action, go check out the podcast, number one. But number two, I think a lot of you people are starting to discover that I do have a lot of fun clips and videos and highlights, and some of these crazy callers that give me a hard time. I clip out highlights and I put them on social media, and I'm not on all the things, but I'm on most of the things. I'm on the YouTubes. I'm on the Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, Twitch, Rumble. I try and get in as many places I can. I even got a little TikTok feed I started up here. So if next time you're on social media, you're just trying to kill some time, I don't know, while you're in the bathroom or whatever, just remember the James Show. All right, I'm James Parker. Mark Levin's coming up next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.